Hello and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. So it's Sunday. I have no plans until this evening. We're playing D&D later. I have myself an Oatly matcha latte strawberry flavoured in my pumpkin mug glass that I'm obsessed with. And I thought probably a good time to tell you what I'm reading for the start of this week. So I'm starting afresh this week with two books. I finished the Kinde book I was reading last night, so I will be picking a new one. My physical book is Four to Score by Evanovich, and it is the fourth book in the Stephanie Plum series. This is actually a book off my July TBR that I haven't gone around to, so I will be starting this. I'm hoping that it won't take too long to read because they aren't particularly long. I think it's about 311 pages long, so I'm hoping that I can whip through this. So this series is about Stephanie Plum, and she gets divorced and ends up losing her job. So she decides to work for, I believe it's her cousin Vinny. I always get confused. I can never remember if it's her cousin or her uncle. I feel like it's her cousin Vinny, and he works at a bond enforcement agency. That's what he owns. So Stephanie becomes a bounty hunter. She has no experience being a bounty hunter, so as you can imagine, it's all a little bit ridiculous. They're really funny. They're very tongue-in-cheek. They were, I think it's like the 90s that they were written, so they're very much of the time. And I used to read these when I was a teenager. My sister and I used to go to the library and we used to pick these out and we'd both read them together. So they were really nostalgic to me, and I found a bunch of them in the charity shop. So I have been rereading them, and then what I do is I donate them once I've finished. I haven't started it yet, but this will be the book I will be reading. As I just mentioned, have finished the Kindle book that I was reading, so I think that it's time we did another spin of the wheel to see what I will be reading this week. Well, for the start of this week. So we have the spinner wheel here. It is a bit awkward, so I'm just going to spin it and see what we get. The Haunting of Sunshine House. So a horror. I have the most random books on here, I'm not going to lie, so I'm just getting my Kindle, waiting for it to actually turn on, and I will search for it, and then we'll find out what it's about together. I'm using this as a challenge to try and get through a lot of the books I have on my Kindle that I've had on here for such a long time, but I just never reach for. What I have noticed is it's not getting me through my books at all, because I think when I started this, I had almost 300 books on the Kindle. I now have almost 400 books on my Kindle, so I really need to stop picking up so many Kindle books. But the 99p deals every month get me, so that doesn't help. Right, we're looking for The Haunting of Sunshine House. Okay, feel like it might be quite low down, so I've gone to the end. Let's see how long it takes me to find it. Talk amongst yourselves. Aha, got it. The Haunting of Sunshine House. Opening it up so we can find out some more information about it. So this is good. It's book one of a series. Hopefully it's not too bad. So yeah, it is book one of Ghosts of Los Angeles, and it's by Dominika Best. So it's 308 pages long. I'm finding that a lot of these books on my Kindle that I've not remembered that have come through are shorter ones, so that is helpful. I will read the synopsis because I don't have a clue what this is about, so we'll learn together. Is the evil lurking in Sunshine House human or something much worse? Once an exclusive Hollywood hotel catering to the likes of Rudolph Valentino and other great stars of the silent film era, the Bockerman Hotel now is the Sunshine House, an assisted living home for seniors, and its residents are dying in droves. Sarah Kane, paranormal investigator, couldn't believe she got an invitation to hunt for ghosts in the most haunted building in all of Los Angeles, the Sunshine House. Her excitement turns to horror as the mysteries of Sunshine House reveal themselves to be more terrifying than she could have ever imagined. The Haunting of Sunshine House is the first book in a creepy new supernatural suspense series that will have your spine tingling. Oh, and then it says, buy yourself a copy, grab a hot cocoa, and turn down the lights. You're in for a thrilling ride with Sarah Kane in The Haunting of Sunshine House. Once you start, you won't be able to put it down. So that actually sounds really interesting. I'm very much feeling the spooky horror vibes at the moment. I haven't been reading much of those recently, so I've done a few. So I'm looking forward to getting into this. Get the cover on. This is the cover. So yes, I'm looking forward to getting into this, and this is what I like about this little challenge. I would have scrolled through my Kindle for ages, seen that, not even really looked twice at it, not picked it up. Now I'm going to be picking that up, reading it, and then I might enjoy it. I might then pick up the rest of the series, I might not, doesn't really matter in that sense. I'm hoping that I enjoy it, but it's just forcing me to read books that I've obviously picked up for a reason, because the synopsis sounds really good, but when you're going through your Kindle, well, for me anyway, when I go through my Kindle, I look and then I try and remember titles. I'm like, oh, this sounds good. I don't really click on them and see what they're about. I just kind of click on books that are more recent because they're in my head and I remember. So this is a good way for me to really read some of these that have been on there for a long time, but it's not necessarily getting the number of books down. So that's what I need to work on next. So I have removed that slice from the spinner wheel. As I said, we don't have much planned other than D&D later this evening, so reading it is. This week I think is a relatively quiet week in terms of plans. I am in the office later in the week on Thursday, but nothing incredibly exciting is happening as far as I'm aware. So yes, I will get cracking. Now the problem is I don't know which one of these to read. I'll figure it out. I've got Dottie sleeping behind me. So we have just got back. We went on a quick walk to get some fresh air, but it's very warm out there. But pretty much all I've done today is read 4 to score. So I'm on page 83, chapter 5, and I realised that I sort of mentioned what the series as a whole is about, but this one specifically is about Stephanie trying to find somebody called Maxine, and Maxine was arrested for stealing her ex-boyfriend's car, and she has failed to turn up for her court date, so that's why they're trying to find her. And it's just been a wild ride already. So Stephanie's been to see her ex-boyfriend, the one who filed the police report, who reported her, and there's some like treasure hunt type of situation. So Maxine has left clues and they're trying to hunt it down, and he's basically said to Stephanie, I'll pay you to deal with this. And already so much has happened. She met somebody who had her finger cut off, and Maxine's mom was scalped. So it's just insane. They thought she was dead. She's not dead. So that's the plus. But I will say that there's some language in here that is just not what we would use today, and it's not great, but also nothing is being depicted negatively. So I don't think that it's meant to be harmful. I just think that I'm sure it was the 90s. Yes, so this was published in 1999, and it is just in terms of trans people and the language there. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on this, but to me it's just something to be mindful. But again, I don't believe that it's specifically trying to depict it in a negative light. I think it is just the nature of the time period, and I probably wouldn't recommend them if you've not read them before, just because of these kinds of things. But they are, as I said, a nostalgia read for me. They're quite funny and silly. But yes, so Stephanie's in all kinds of trouble, and Morelli is a police officer who she has known for a very long time. He's on the scene. I would say, I think realistically you could read these out of order. You could just pick one up and you'd be able to figure it out, because it does kind of reintroduce and give you the facts of people and characters. It gives you the information, but you obviously get more from it if you read them in order. But yeah, I've made a decent amount of progress really, and the plan is to just carry on with this for the rest of the day. It's almost 9:30. We've just got done playing D&D, and we officially finished our campaign that we started early last year, so that's exciting. Very little progress has been made on 4 to score. I'm now on page 92. I'm actually partway through a chapter. I'm partway through chapter 5. Not too much more has actually happened since I updated. They're still just trying to find Maxine, but also I can't remember her name, but there's somebody that Stephanie knows who her ex-husband cheated on her with, and the reason that they got divorced is now also at this bond agency. She's been hired by Vinny, and she is trailing Stephanie, and Stephanie's getting very annoyed about it. So there's that. I did make a start on The Haunting of Sunshine House, but I just read the first 2 chapters, and all that's happened is that it is this elderly assistance home, and they're saying that lots of people have been found dead, and the main character, he has just found somebody that he was friends with dead. The only thing that's weird about this is there's no page numbers, so I'm 5% of the way through, but I don't know what page I'm on. Chapter 3, but there's no page numbers. It's only like the location or the time left in chapter or time left in book, which is a bit annoying because I actually like having the page number on, and I'm not sure many people do that. But yes, not far enough into this to fully know what's going on, but see, I imagine it will get further into it. But my plan is to head up to bed and get a little bit more progress done on either of these before tomorrow. The neighbour's roof saga continues, so apologies. I'll see if it picks up, and then I might have to just see how it goes. But last night I did try and read some of The Haunting of Sunshine House. I'm now, if it actually, my Kindle has gone so slow, it's annoying me. 15% of the way through on chapter 6. Now I will say that it's quite confusing, so there's a few different perspectives. We've got the guy who lives in this assisted living facility, who is the one who stumbled across the dead body, and he is convinced that somebody has murdered her, although it appears that it's looking like natural causes, but he is adamant that someone has murdered her. There is, I think she's the kind of manager type person at this place. She is sleeping with someone higher up than her and wants to get a promotion. Then there is also one of the nurses that works there, and her dad lives there, who seems to be having some kind of health issues. Can't quite figure it out. I'm not sure if she's seeing ghosts or what's going on there. And then there is a ghost hunter who has been notified that Sunshine House is going to allow a paranormal investigator to come and into the property and see what's there. That's what I've got so far, but there are a lot of different perspectives, and throughout the chapters it does flick between them, so it's trying to figure out who they are. And also I think that it's flicking timelines. We had one timeline that was like way in the past of a little boy and his mom. I'm not quite sure what the relevance of that is. Maybe that will come through at some point. I'm struggling with it a little bit at the moment. I'm hoping that it'll be a case of once I'm in it a little bit more, I'll start to understand exactly what's happening. But at the moment, I'm just trying to figure out who's who and what is happening. But really, it does seem like this place is haunted. There's some suspicious deaths happening. A paranormal investigator is going to come and check out the property, and that's when we'll find out more on what's going on. Only 15% of the way through, so hopefully a lot of the things I don't understand are going to start picking up and making more sense the more I get into it. I didn't make much progress on Fall to Score. I just finished the chapter that I was partway through. I'm now 101 pages in and I'm on chapter 6. So Stephanie is still on this scavenger hunt type thing. She went to go and see somebody who potentially had a clue for her, and that person has now gone missing. So I feel like things are starting to get even more suspicious. It seems like there's maybe more happening than there originally appeared. So I think that there's going to be trouble with Maxine. So there's something else. It can't just be she's hiding because she stole the car. There's going to be something else, but what that is right now, I don't know. But yeah, not too much more progress yet, but we will try and make some more progress for the rest of the day. But obviously I am back at work today, so we'll see how it all goes. I've made a bit more progress on the Haunting of Sunshine House. I'm now 21% of the way through chapter 7, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. There's too many perspectives and it's confusing because we're not actually really getting introduced to them. We just have to try and figure out who they are. And not only that, but now it seems that maybe it's not a haunting. I don't quite understand. So somebody's turned up dead, and now we're being told it's being treated as suspicious, and essentially they think that they've been murdered. And so there's that. But then there is also these hauntings. So I'm just like, so it's a haunting and it's also a murder mystery. I just feel like it's doing too much, in all honesty. I don't really see the point, but I don't think it will take me too long to read, but I'm just going to see how it goes. I think it should just be one or the other. I'm not sure what it needs to be both, and also there's too many perspectives and it's confusing me. But that is pretty much it. I haven't read any more of Four to School yet. I will probably pick that up a little bit later. I've been doing some editing on a video ready to go live this week, so that's why I'm sat here, and also Dottie is in the armchair, so I didn't want to disturb her just to make this update. I have read a little bit more of Four to School by Janet Evanovich. Again, I'm partway through a chapter. I'm real bad at this, but I'm on page 134. So she is still looking for Maxine and she's still on this scavenger hunt. Her car has been blown up, which is kind of a running joke and a running theme with these books. And also her grandmother has decided to join her because they went to, where did they go? They went to Atlantic City because apparently that's where Maxine was doing some gambling, and her grandmother really wanted to join in on the fun, and her grandmother is just hilarious and absolutely ridiculous, so that's fun. I think I'm possibly about halfway through or almost halfway through this now, so it's going relatively quickly. It's again just lots of shenanigans with Stephanie. There's always multiple things going on. So she's looking for Maxine, who failed to show up to her court appearance because she stole her ex-boyfriend's car, but then Maxine is also sending her ex-boyfriend on the scavenger hunt, but Stephanie's been roped into it. Somebody is threatening Stephanie, saying that she needs to stay away from her boyfriend. She thinks it's Morelli. Morelli's telling her it's not. There's all that going on. Somebody who was helping has turned up dead. There's just so much, and I think it'll all come together at the end of this and make sense. That's the thing about these books. They're very one track in a sense of it's a case, all these things happen, and then it gets resolved at the end, and then the next book will move on, and then it is just the romance and the tension between Stephanie and Morelli, and Stephanie and Ranger, and there's a debate on who she should be with. But that is pretty much it. I'm enjoying it in the sense of it's nostalgia. I remember bits of this. I remember reading these when I was younger, and reading through it I do remember parts of it and thinking back on it, so it's really nice and it's relatively quick. I also haven't mentioned this, but I love the size of this. So it's basically palm sized, and it's just such a perfect size to just put in any bag, so I love that. And yeah, it does give very 90s vibes from the cover, but look forward to getting further into that. But it is after 9:30 now, so once this video is scheduled I'll be getting myself up to bed, chilling for the evening. I've had a really productive morning so far. I always get up with Dave, and we have coffee in the morning before he goes to work, and then I usually end up editing usually the vlog and then whatever other video I need to do for an hour before I start getting ready for work. But the vlog took less time today and I didn't have any other editing I needed to do because I'm on top of it, which is great. So I actually had about a solid 45 minutes of reading time this morning, which is actually really good. So I have made some more progress on the Haunting of Sunshine House. I'm only 34% of the way through chapter 9. I will say it's quite slow going. I'm struggling a little bit. There's so much going on, there's so many characters and there's so many things. So there's hauntings, there's murders, there's suspicious stuff happening left, right and centre. So the ghost hunters slash paranormal investigators, whatever they are, came to Sunshine House and have gone through the property, and they've said, oh yes, somebody's been murdered recently. It is the woman who was found dead, who they're convinced was murdered. It has been proven that that is the case, but now they're trying to figure out who this murderer is. Police have now got involved because one of the residents called the police when they found the dead body, and the police are they now know. So the police know that they're treating it as suspicious. The paranormal investigators they saw the ghost of the dead woman, and they saw her being murdered. So I guess the ghosts are going to help find this murderer. But then there's also the nurse, Lou, who is really suspicious. Her dad is also living in the facility. He doesn't seem all there, and she just seems a little bit suspicious and a little bit strange. Can't figure out what's going on there. There's just so much happening. So we'll see if it continues to be confusing or if it actually links up. But I'm, a bit indifferent about it, in all honesty. I'm ready to get it finished and done. But I'm just going to try and make progress on it every day and try and get that done. I finished the chapter I was partway through last night, but that's pretty much it. So I'm now on chapter 9, 160 pages into this. Not a whole lot more has happened, of course. She has moved in to Morelli's. I say not a whole bunch has happened, but I don't think I told you that her house got blown up by her apartment. So she's now living with Morelli. But I think I'm just over halfway through. So not too bad on this, but I'm just feeling pretty good about the fact that I've got a good amount of reading done this morning. So that's the main thing. I'm now 42% of the way through the Haunting of Sunshine House, and it's not really getting any better. They've now introduced potentially Nazis. So now there's been hints. So it was mentioned really briefly at the beginning when the first murder happened. They said that it wasn't they were treating it as suspicious, and it seemed like she'd been injected with air into her vein, which can mimic a heart attack. And they said right at the beginning, this is something that the Nazis used to do, kind of thing. And anyone who knew about that would potentially know. It's like the Nazis used to do it, or angels of death, medical professionals that killed their patients. And I did think it was a little bit weird that they mentioned the Nazis first, because I thought that the medical professionals would be the first thing to say, but I didn't really think too much of it. Now there's been more mentions of Nazis, and they're trying to find out if the murder victim was Jewish. There's been Nazi symbols appearing on windows, and I'm not really sure what the whole connection is. So that's another layer to it. And so there's now been another murder, somebody else has died, and I'm assuming it's going to be a murder. It's going to be the same person that has already killed. So there's that. We've still got the ghost hunter person. She is trying to figure out who the first murder victim is and trying to figure that out. It's just a lot of people doing a lot of different things, and we're getting all the perspectives of it, and it's just confusing. And obviously there is this nurse that works there. She's suspicious, so that's an added thing to it, but it's just all over the place, and trying to do too much it should just pick one and develop that. Considering it's not a particularly long book, it's telling me that I've only got, when it loads, 2 hours and 41 minutes left of this book. I'm not sure how it's going to wrap everything up and get it all together, but that's what's happening. It keeps flicking back. It needs some editing. It needs some fine tuning. There was one part of this that didn't quite make any sense as well. Like, it said a word and I was like, I'm not sure that's the correct word to go there. And then I looked it up. Yeah, I just think I can see why a lot of these books are free and have been sitting on my Kindle for a while, but I'm getting through them. I'm getting them cleared out, which I am better at now. I only pick books up for my Kindle that I'm genuinely interested in reading. I did get into a really bad habit, especially when I first got the Kindle and I wasn't spending a lot of money on books. I got into the habit of anything that was free or really cheap, I would just pick it up just because it was free or if it was cheap. Now I'm a lot more selective and I also know my tastes a lot better, so I'm not drawn to a book just because of that. I look at it and see, and I think, although the premise of this does sound really interesting, I think in hindsight, if I was picking this up now, I would have looked at the reviews on Goodreads, which, spoiler alert, are not particularly positive. I'm going to see it through because the ending might be quite interesting. I'm intrigued to see exactly how this is going to wrap up, but at the same time, I feel like we're going about it the wrong way. But I'm just looking forward to doing that, getting that done. So that will be it. I'm just going to try and, I think, focus on this, get it finished, possibly. Maybe tonight, if I just read this and don't read any of my other book, I might be able to get that done. That would be quite good. I have been reading more of The Haunting of Sunshine House. I'm now 83% of the way through. I've got under an hour to go and it has definitely picked up and it's all kicking off at the end of this book. I still think it's been absolutely all over the place. There's too much going on. It's trying to do too much in such a short space of time, and it's now just getting to the reveals and what exactly has happened and all that jazz. About just over halfway through, I guessed it's the big chunk of this. So yeah, there was that. But then I also feel like a lot of it just doesn't really make any sense. Maybe it will come together a little bit more during the actual end of this book. Maybe we'll get a wrap up of here's how all of this feeds into everything. But it needs some tidying up. There was too much. It's trying to be a ghost story. It's trying to be murder mystery. There's all this stuff about World War II and Nazis and all that kind of stuff. There's going back to the past tense, present tense, billions of different characters all getting their perspectives, about 3 to 5 different perspectives in one chapter. It's just exhausting to read. So I'll be glad when this is done. I think I'm going to just get this finished tonight and done because, as I said, I've got less than an hour left. I think it hopefully will be 47 minutes to go, so I'm thinking I can just power through and get this done tonight. I probably would have had it done earlier, but I decided my crazy TBR shelf that I have, the smaller bookcase, I decided to put everything in alphabetical order, and I properly double stacked it, and it looks better, but it's also a serious problem with the amount of books that are on it. So I really need to figure out a good way to get my physical TBR down. That is the plan. But a good way to do that would to be to actually read my physical TBR, especially the monthly TBR that I'm not doing so great on. I did it because I thought it would make me feel better, and it's actually just made me feel more overwhelmed with the amount of books. I'm still debating because these new bookcases, as you can kind of see, have space on them. Now, my plan was to just, as I'm reading books, I'm filling it, but I'm really debating putting my unread books in it. I'm just worried that if I do that, I'm going to forget what I've read and what I haven't read and miss some of them because I just get confused really easily, and it it's more of an out of sight, out of mind. Whereas at least with that shelf, I know everything on that shelf hasn't been read, and I know everything on these shelves has been read. So I'm struggling. I don't know what to do, and it's overwhelming me a little bit. What I do need to do, definitely, and is chill out on the book buying. But that's never going to happen, is it? I'm going to get this done tonight. Then I will get this done. Because really, I'm over halfway through this. I don't think this is going to take me that long. I just need to focus and just read. So I realised yesterday that I didn't actually show you these shelves. So this is my TBR shelf. And as I mentioned, they're all double stacked, so there are books. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get that back in now, but there are also books completely behind every single shelf. So there's also books behind here. My hardbacks are on the bottom shelf because they don't fit on this middle shelf, so I've got them here. Some of the shorter ones do, so that one does, but the standard hardbacks are here. There's obviously more books behind there. This is some of the books I've hauled, and then I've started to potentially put together the next TBRs, things like that, but it's not set in stone. But yes, it definitely, focus on this middle shelf because I've messed with the other one, definitely looks better, but it's just showing me how many books I have, and it's a little bit of a problem. I actually did manage to finish The Haunting of Sunshine House last night. I think I said that there was about 47 minutes left, but it actually turned out to be closer to 30 minutes because there was a first chapter for the next book at the end, so it was about 30 minutes. I managed to get that done. I have given this 1 star. I just felt it was quite difficult to read. There were too many perspectives. The perspectives kept changing through the chapter. I had to keep rereading bits of it because I was trying to figure out whose perspective we were now on, and I felt like it was trying to do too much in such a short amount of pages. So it was supposed to be, from the title, a haunting, it was supposed to be about ghosts. There was ghosts, and then it was actually, oh no, it's a murder. Then there was also talks of demons, Nazis. There was just general strange stuff going on. I just feel like it should have picked one and stuck with it and really fleshed it out, and maybe cut down on the amount of perspectives. I just really struggled with it. I also guessed, I would say about halfway through, maybe just after halfway through, I had a feeling what the sort of twist, I guess, was, and I guessed it, and then the end was all just a little bit strange as well, and I'm not going to say much more about it. It's done. I finished it. Another book down on the Kindle. So I'm now going to move back to School. I read a chapter this morning when I woke up. I'm now page 178, and it's still much the same. Obviously, Stephanie's apartment was blown up, so she's currently with Morelli, and their relationship is potentially going further and that kind of thing. She's still looking for Maxine, so that's still all happening. But yeah, not much left of this either, so I'm hoping that I can make good progress on this today. I'm thinking I need to look at my arcs and see what coming up next, because I think I might pick an arc for the Kindle book next, just so that I can try and get on top of those, because they have fallen on the wayside a little bit. So I'm going to check that out. I've been making some good progress on to Score. I'm now on page 212, so I've just got 100 pages left, which seems like a lot there, but it's really not. Anyway, I've got 100 pages to go on this. She still hasn't figured out exactly what's going on, but I guess we're getting closer to finding that out. She's still living with Morelli. She went to see Morelli's family, and that was just ridiculous and hilarious. I think that it'll start to wrap everything up and all of the pieces are going to come together in the next 100 pages. I've just had a fun time reading this. They're just quite quick, easy, and they're quite funny. Just a wild ride, in all honesty. The amount of craziness that happens in these is just insane. They are a little bit ridiculous, but that's part of the charm of them. So I'm hoping that I can get this done tonight, get the last 100 pages read, and yeah, I'm feeling quite productive with it. I haven't picked up the Kindle again. I am going to read an arc on it. I just need to figure out which one's the next one and get that started. I have finished Fall to School by Janet Evanovich. It was a bit touch and go on whether I was actually going to get this finished tonight, because we popped out earlier and watched the eclipse. So we got back and had food, and I just read the last 100-ish pages of this. I'm giving it 3 stars because mostly for me, what I enjoy about these is the nostalgia factor. They are funny, they are cheesy, they're a little bit ridiculous and over the top. There's also things in this that don't really hold up today, so I wouldn't recommend other people who haven't read this series before to necessarily pick them up. But for me, it is just that nostalgia. They are funny. They are insane. So the last 100 pages pretty much just wrapped everything up, because there was a billion different, okay, that's an exaggeration, there was 3 or 4 different tangents within this that all linked together. So I did quite like that fact that they all came together and were connected in some way, and that has kind of been concluded. So the story is done, and yes, a lot of these are just one case and then complete. Kind of reminds me of like with a TV show where you have one enemy or one issue and then it's resolved and then you move on to the next thing. That's what these are. There's obviously the running thing throughout this, which is the romance, but that isn't the major plot point. But yeah, another book done, and one from my July TBR, so that's great. For my Kindle, I haven't actually read any of this yet, but I will be reading an arc, and that is The Harvest Moon Café by Farah Halliwell, and that is due to be released on the 25th of August, so I've got a little bit of time. I'm ahead of it ever so slightly. So this, as I said, I haven't started it yet, but it's one from NetGalley that I was invited to review, and it says, she thinks they're cursed, he thinks they're pure magic. Blair Briarwood's pumpkin spice lattes are bewitching, but her love life is more like a lukewarm cup of tea. She hasn't opened her heart since her senior year, when she finally admitted she'd fallen for her high school rival Luke Caldwell under the burnt orange leaves of Moonbeam Hollow's annual Harvest Festival. That was before her mother died, leaving Blair to care for her 2 younger sisters and to make sure they kept their witchy heritage a secret. Now 30 years old, owner of the Harvest Moon Café, expert spellmaker and secret Hallmark movie enjoyer, Blair only has room in her heart for her sisters Belinda and Bianca. That is, until a certain 6'2" architect with an infuriating smirk and the body of a lumberjack moves back into town and turns her world upside down again. But when Luke announces he's opening a rival cafe, Blair is far from love-struck. This is the boy she spent years fighting with, back to resume his place as bane of her existence. But this time Blair won't let herself fall under his spell. Only as the competition heats up, the sparks between Blair and Luke reignite, but something strange is happening across the town, and if Blair didn't know any better, she would say magic is involved. Now the annual Harvest Festival is hanging by a thread, along with all of Blair's resolve not to fall for her first love. Can Blair show she still makes the best pumpkin spice lattes in town, save Moonbeam Hollow without revealing her family's bewitching secret, and learn to open her heart again? And it says, this totally cozy and steamy romance is like a pumpkin spice latte on a brisk autumn day. Fans of Laurie Gilmore, Rewitched and the Ex-Hex will be completely entranced by this second chance witchy romance. Now I'm hoping that, yes, I think this will be cheesy, but I'm hoping this will be on the cute side of cheesy rather than what I've been having recently, where I've not enjoyed the books that I've been arc reading. I'm hoping that this one will be cute and I will enjoy it. If it's similar to Rewitched and the Ex-Hex, I'm hoping that I will, because I did and do enjoy those. So I will be reading that. I also need to pick another physical book to read, so I will be, because I've got 6 books on the immediate TBR. I'm going to roll the trusty dice, so that's what we're going to do over there. The immediate TBR is here. We've got Lucy's Score, Things We Never Got Over. That is a carryover from July that I really should get to. I think it's the last one being carried over, so that's good. We've got Shelter from the Storm by Ellie Dean. We've got The Full Moon Coffee Shop by Mai Mokazuki. We've got For Eternity by Geneva Lee. We've got The Island of the Missing Trees by Elf Sharafa. And then we've got Cat Gamer by Wataru Nadati. It's really small there and I can't quite read it. Right, it's time to roll this dice. 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We are finishing the Filthy Rich Vampire series, apparently. So we are reading the final installment. It's absolutely boiling. I'm just getting ready for work and I'm already sweating. So that's not great. I'm in the office today, so I'm not sure how much reading I'll actually get done, but I thought I would at least tell you what this is about, because I picked it last night and then I went up to bed. So this is the final book in the series, so it's quite difficult to explain exactly what it's about. But the premise is there is a human girl called Thea. She's a cellist. She's working at this fancy venue while she's also studying. There's this really fancy party happening and it is being run by vampires that obviously nobody in the real world, they don't know that vampires exist, it's just they're there. And Julian, it is the male main character vampire. He's at this party. Thea accidentally stumbles across a vampire feeding on one of the women in the band, and so Julian tries to alter her mind to make her forget, and he can't. He's then drawn to her and obviously a little bit intrigued, so they pretend to date. They start fake dating to keep her safe, and of course that ends up being something more. They end up falling for each other. The books have gone on. This is the 4th and final book in the series, and I'm just happy to be completing out a series. I did buy all of these before I started the first one, and I don't recommend. This series has been okay. It's not really blown me away. There's been a few things in it that I haven't been particularly loving. The last book, actually, the second half of that was really good, and I thought it ended really well, but I don't really know what this book is going to give us. I started it last night, but I just read the prologue and the first chapter, so I'm now on page 15. It has carried on directly from the last book, so it's just picked up straight where the last book ended. So yeah, I haven't really gotten into it enough to really know what's going on fully in terms of the story. I attempted to read some of the Harvest Moon Café last night and fell asleep. So apparently I got 2% of the way through, but I think I'm actually going to have to reread everything that I read last night because I fell asleep with my Kindle in my hand, and I think I've actually accidentally pressed pages. Does anyone else do this, that you wake up and you're like, I don't remember reading this bit, I must have just been tapping away? So I won't be taking my physical book just because it's actually quite chunky. It's the last book, it's chunkier than the rest. It's 450 pages, but for a romance predominantly, that's quite large. So I will just be taking my Kindle on my commute. So I think I'm just going to restart this. The little bit that I read that I remembered seems cute so far, but I'd rather read it when I'm actually awake and can remember what's going on. So I'll be doing that. As I said, I'm in the office today. Don't think I'll be getting tons of reading done, and I probably won't be able to film any updates or anything, so I'll probably just check back in tonight when I'm home. So I'm back home after the office. I got into some comfy clothes. It was kind of a nightmare of a commute both ways, so unfortunately not a whole bunch of reading was actually done, but I've been back home a little bit now, so I did make some progress on the Harvest Moon Cafe. I'm now on chapter 3, 8% of the way through, and it's still of course setting everything up. So Blair owns the cafe in the town, and she has been told that there is a bakery opening next door, and she's trying to figure out if the bakery is going to just be a bakery or if it's going to be a bakery cafe, and it appears it's going to be a bakery cafe. And not only that, but it is owned and being built by her ex-boyfriend, so she is not very happy about that, and they have just met, and he's like, oh, let me walk you home, and she's like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, a bit of healthy competition. So that is going to really be the premise of the story. But also there's been hints, because Blair is a witch, there's been hints that there's some issues going on with the town. So some deliveries were getting lost. The bookshop next door had some issues with their deliveries, and then the lights are going all crazy. So I think there's also something happening in the town that she's also going to have to figure out. But I'm really not that far into it. As I said, I didn't get a chance to do much reading on my commute today, and I didn't think I would, but then I had a bit of a horrendous time. But I'll probably just get a bit more of this read tonight and see what else happens. I'm now 27% of the way through this. I'm on chapter 9, and I'm having a really good time with it so far. I feel like it is a little bit cheesy, still sort of setting things up. There's obviously magic in this world that is being affected in some way by something, and they're not sure what it is. And they have a sort of harvest festival, autumn festival, every year, and there seems to be a possibility that this may not be able to go ahead because the pumpkins have been affected, things are going missing. There's just general shenanigans happening. A bunch of cats are turning up when it's raining and they don't understand what it is. So Blair and her two sisters, as far as they're aware, are the only witches in this town, and there's obviously magic, and they're trying to figure out what on earth is going on. Alongside Blair's ex-boyfriend Luke, who has moved back to town and is opening up a rival bakery slash cafe. And I do know it's a second chance romance, so I do know that they're going to somehow come together. It's giving me all of the Gilmore Girls vibes with magic. So they had a town meeting, and obviously just all the small town things, and honestly, I want the autumn now. This, on the one hand, is a really great book to be reading during a heat wave because it's taking my mind off the heat, but also it's not great because I'm sick of the heat. I want it to be autumn. I want all the pumpkin things. So yeah, it's just, I'm having a good time with it. This is the kind of thing I want when I'm reading a cozy, cute romance book. This is it for me so far. Like, nothing too major has happened between the two main characters. Obviously, second chance romance, so the relationship technically is partially already established. So that's the only thing I'm not 100% on, because I like to see the slow build of this relationship, whereas I think there's a potential that this could go a little bit faster because they've been together previously. So I'm interested to see how that will happen. There has been a lot of mentions of their previous relationships. So Blair has spoken and also has remembered and thought about, oh, this happened. So I think that's helping to sort of cement their relationship and what it was like. And from what I'm gathering so far, they didn't particularly like each other. There was a little bit of rivalry happening when they were in high school, but then they ended up dating, and they were both planning to go to university together at the same place. But unfortunately, Blair's mum passes away and she has to look after her two younger sisters, so she can't go, and she convinces Luke to go and says that she was planning to break up with him anyway, he shouldn't risk staying, that kind of thing. So he leaves, and I think it's been 15 years. I've just said that, I'm not sure. I know how Café has been open for 6 years, but it's been quite a while. It's been over 10 years, I believe, since he's been in this town. So obviously he's come back, and now there's going to be some competition between the two of them. So yeah, overall I'm really enjoying it. Okay, so there's been quite a few mentions, because there's a bookshop next door, about book clubs and romantasy and just in general like book things, but nothing specific. So they obviously, romantasy has been mentioned, and romance and fantasy and those kind of things, and saying, oh, it would be really great to set up a book club, and can we do this book club in the cafe? But there hasn't been like name dropping of series or characters, which is what I personally don't like. This is more of just like a passive, like, oh, you know, there's this genre book club, and I want to join a book club that also meets in a cafe, and that's something that I've wanted for a very long time. But trying to find people that are local to me and will meet in a cafe regularly and read books with me is difficult. And also, I have really bad anxiety, so I don't like going outside. It's been good so far. I'm enjoying it. I'm really tired now though. It's been a really long day because I've been in the office anyway, and the travelling and out was horrendous. So I'm going to get myself up into bed and possibly read some more of this, but I'll see, because if it's anything like last night, I'm going to get into bed and fall asleep while reading a Kindle. So I'll see how much reading actually happens. So I've read some more on my Kindle this morning. I didn't do any more reading last night. I was so tired when I got into bed. So I've read another chapter. So I'm now 29% of the way through. So I've only read an extra chapter, so not too much has happened. But Blair is trying to figure out exactly what to do, because the Harvest Festival is going to be ruined if they don't figure out the issues, and there's all magic problems happening. So she is still convinced that Luke is the reason for all this trouble. So she is trying to figure out what she can do to get back to him. This is going quite quickly, I will say. It says I've got 4 hours and 22 minutes left to go, and obviously being 29% of the way through, I only read a little bit of it. Well, I technically started and then mostly reread everything I'd read on Wednesday night, and then I only read just a little bit of this yesterday, so I feel like this is going to be a really quick read for me. So I'm looking forward to properly getting stuck in with this tonight. We don't have any plans for this evening, so I think I will just read as much of this as possible. I will say that the heat is making it harder to read. That's why I'm mostly reading on my Kindle and haven't really touched my physical book as well, because I find when I'm really warm, I don't want to be touching paper. So I will be focusing on this. But yeah, I'm just trying not to melt. In all honesty, I'm tired of the heat. I want this weather. They're talking about how much it's been raining, and I'm like, I could have some of that, please. That would be great. So yeah, that's pretty much what my plan is for the day after I finish work. I'm still reading The Harvest Moon Cafe. I'm now 37% of the way through. It's telling me I've got 3 hours and 37 minutes to go, so there's a possibility that I might get this done tonight. I'm having a really good time. I am just struggling to read with the heat, but I'm having a really good time reading this. Things are starting to get more serious with the issues happening in the town, and it's just still confusing. They don't know what the issue is, so Blair is trying to figure that out. There's a really funny part in this with the book club, which made me laugh out loud, so that's always really good. And now Blair has suggested that she and Luke decide to have a more casual relationship because they clearly both have feelings for each other. So I'm intrigued to see what that's going to look like and what exactly is going to happen with all of that. But I will say, with how warm it is, I'm struggling, but I'm trying. So I'm on my lunch break, and so I have made a good amount of progress. But yeah, I think it's reading pretty quickly, to be honest. I'm managing to make a good amount of progress with it, and I'm still having a really good time. But I just wish it was a lot cooler here. Desperate for autumn, and this book is giving me all of the autumn feels, so that's good. Honestly, I don't know where this evening has gone, but it is almost 9:30, and I thought I should probably give a little bit of an update on this and wrap up the vlog, because I've still got a little bit of editing to do and I don't want to be up all night. So I have been reading more of this, not much progress. So I'm now 42% of the way through. I'm on chapter 15. So Blair and Luke have decided to start a casual secret relationship. So they've started sleeping together, but they don't want anybody to know about it, and they're saying that they're not going to have a relationship. It's just strictly casual. I'm not sure how long that's going to last, but that is the case. So Blair is trying to get Luke's help with figuring out what exactly has happened and what is going on with all of the sabotage against the fall festival, over the fall festival. And obviously she knows that, well, she has a feeling that it's magical, and it most likely is. Trying to get his help without actually revealing the fact that it's a magical thing. But her sister had a prophecy, a premonition, whatever you'd call it, and it says that he is the key. So she's trying to get as much information from him as possible, and then they're obviously getting tangled together and realising how much they like each other. I'm still having a really good time with this. It is a little bit cheesy, but I'm finding it the exact right amount of cheese for me to enjoy. So it is the small town vibe, the whole magic, I'm enjoying that, and yeah, I'm just having a really good time with it. It's been really warm. I'm not feeling the most eager to read, just because when it gets warm I get tired. I think I'm just going to power through and get this done, but to be 42% of the way through is not bad at all, so I'm quite happy with that. I also think it is time to wrap up the vlog. So see, I did finish Fall to School and I gave this 3 stars. Nostalgia read for me, nothing particularly fantastic. I just really like them. And then I also finished a book on my Kindle, which was not great, and that was The Haunting of Sunshine House. That up if it ever loads. The kit, honestly, it's so slow. No, it doesn't want to load today. But yes, so I read The Haunting of Sunshine House, but I only gave that 1 star. I did not particularly, didn't really enjoy this one. But 2 books finished for this vlog, and both of them I started at the beginning of this. I've started and finished 2 books in this, which is actually really good for me. And then I'm 40-ish% of the way through a third. I'm happy with that. I think that's pretty good, especially with how warm it's been. And I feel like I've not been reading as much as normal, just heat. We've been busy spending time with Dave on evenings, which is absolutely fine and what I wanted to do. But I think it's time to wrap this up so that I can actually edit it and get it all sorted. So please do like this video if you've liked it, subscribe if you'd like to see more of these videos, and comment down below, tell me what you've been reading this week, or if you've read anything that I have been reading. I'd love to hear about it, and I'm going to do this as a little test. I've seen a few people do this, but if you've watched this all the way through, you don't have anything in particular you want to say, but you want to let me know you are here, leave a donut emoji down below for Stephanie Plum. And as always, thank you so much for watching.